Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to uncover the weighty and honestly highly strategic realities behind a title that gets completely misunderstood, the company's secretary. If you're involved in the corporate world, you've probably seen this title floating around in annual reports or meeting minutes, but right now we're going to unpack what it actually means.
Okay, now let's dive right in and tackle a huge misconception right out of the gate. The word secretary. I know, it sounds super administrative, right? It kind of conjures up images of scheduling, typing up memos, and answering phones. But actually scratch that. The reality of this position is far more complex and heavily legally binding. We're literally talking about a role that sits right at the very heart of corporate power.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look beyond the job title, then explore their role as a champion of corporate governance and guiding the board of directors. After that, we'll get into enforcing rules and compliance, and finally, their duty as the official record keeper.
All right, Section 1, Beyond the Job Title, Unpacking the Reality.
Taking a look at our source material, the foundational role of the company secretary is broadly defined as assisting and guiding the directors. Now, directors are naturally focused on the pursuit of profit and growth. That's their job, right? But the company secretary is there to ensure that this aggressive pursuit happens while acting with absolute integrity, total independence, and keeping the best interests of the company as a whole in mind. So the crucial takeaway here is that they act as a high-level navigational guide. They aren't just sitting in the corner taking notes, they are deeply embedded in the strategic and ethical direction of the company. They're the objective voice in the room, maintaining strict independence from the very directors they're advising.
They essentially walk a tightrope. On one side, you've got the board's aggressive drive for profit and growth. On the other side, you have the legitimate ethical interests and expectations of stakeholders. The employees, the investors, the community. The company's secretary sits right smack in the middle, balancing these forces to make sure the company doesn't lose its moral or legal compass just for the sake of making a buck.
Moving on to Section 2, Champion of Corporate Governance, the core persona.
When we look closely at their primary duties, the very first point completely elevates the narrative away from those simple administrative tasks we talked about earlier.
They are literally defined as the champion of corporate governance. Just think about the weight of that word for a second. Champion. It frames them as the ultimate safeguard of a company's integrity and ethics. They are the leading advocate for doing things right, ensuring that power is exercised fairly, transparently, and legally at the absolute top of the corporate ladder.
Okay, Section 3, Guiding the Board of Directors, the advisor.
So, being a champion of governance requires active, ongoing education. The company's secretary serves as the legal and ethical compass for the board. Our source explicitly states they provide guidance to directors, both individually and collectively. This means they're making sure every single director knows exactly what their powers are and, perhaps more importantly, what their boundaries are. Whenever a board member isn't sure if a decision crosses a legal line, the company secretary is the one they turn to.
This brings us to Section 4, Enforcing Rules and Compliance, the watchdog. They aren't just polite advisors offering friendly suggestions. They carry a heavy, non-negotiable legal mandate. Notice the escalation of their duties here. Step 1, guide the directors. Step 2, ensure compliance with the company's rules, like the Memorandum of Incorporation and the broader law, like the Companies Act. But Step 3 is where things get really serious. They must proactively report any failures to the board.
I actually want to pause here for a second, because the gravity and the legal risk associated with this specific duty is immense. Think about it. Calling out a powerful director's failure to comply with the law, that takes a tremendous amount of courage, and it requires that profound independence we mentioned earlier. They aren't there to cover for the board. They are legally bound to hold the board accountable to itself.
Finally, Section 5, the official record keeper, the proof of governance. So, how do we know all this guidance and compliance is actually happening? Well, this role requires meticulous documentation and legal certification that ultimately protects the company. It's not just taking notes to jog someone's memory next week, it's creating an ironclad, legally binding paper trail.
They enforce compliance by ensuring every single crucial meeting, from the shareholders to the board down to the audit committee, is properly and accurately recorded. Basically, if a decision isn't in the minutes, legally speaking, it didn't happen. Plus, they must personally put their own neck on the line and certify in the annual financial statements that all required legal returns and notices have been filed. They are the final seal of legal approval.
After unpacking this intense blend of high-level advisory, strict compliance enforcement, and vital legal certification, the true weight of the company secretary becomes incredibly clear, doesn't it? They're the quiet engine of integrity running in the background of corporate success. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder. When a board of directors is pushing as hard as possible for profit and power, without a company secretary in the room, who truly protects the company from itself?